Is it possible for dog food companies to be responsible for dogs becoming obese? I mean, should dog food companies take the blame for the canine obesity epidemic? Are they simply fooling us into thinking their food is healthier than it really is, and therefore basically tricking us into making our dogs overweight? Actually, recently, a woman filed a class action lawsuit against a dog food company called Blue Buffalo, claiming that her dog had gained a significant amount of weight and also required medical attention for canine obesity as a result of feeding Blue Buffalo dog food to her dog. And her dog has also been diagnosed with diabetes. The question is, of course, is this really the dog food company's fault? There's certainly a lot of deceptions when it comes to the marketing of dog food, and the woman behind this lawsuit does have some very interesting and important points. In this video, I'll share why the dog food this woman was feeding her dog may actually promote unhealthy weight gain. And by the way, this is the case for so much of the dog food out there, even the more expensive premium dog foods. I'll also share how there are two main methods to help avoid a dog actually becoming overweight, and one of them may actually result in the dog having the same diseases as an overweight dog. And that's usually the method a lot of people use. And I'll also share how it's possible to take complete control over a dog's diet in a completely natural way without leaving your dog's life in the hands of a dog food manufacturer. Hi, I'm Ingrid, the Norwegian Viking behind Viking Dog Girl. I hold a certificate as a pet food nutrition specialist, and I'm here every week sharing everything on dog nutrition, dog health, and lifestyle. And I do it the Viking way, which means no sugarcoating and no BS. I will give it to you straight. I look for the real evidence because I want you to help your dog be as healthy, happy, and live as long as possible. Now, are there really grounds for suing a dog food company for making a dog overweight? To answer that, we need to look at whether that food is more likely to promote unhealthy weight gain, and if the marketing and the packaging, etc. of that food portrays a deceptive image of the food actually being healthier than it really is. And of course, we should look at whether there is something this woman could have done differently. And when it comes to the latter, it's important to remember that dogs don't become overweight overnight. It happens gradually, and once you start suspecting that your dog may be packing on some excess fat, then there are two main methods that you can use to help avoid your dog actually becoming overweight or obese. And remember, the most common method to use is actually the one that may result in the dog getting the same diseases as if the dog became overweight. Though before we look at those two methods, let's look at some of the claims that this woman makes in this lawsuit, because some of them are pretty interesting. For instance, according to the lawsuit, Blue Buffalo's claims are deceptive because their Blue Wilderness products all contain high levels of dietary carbohydrates, which are neither healthy for dogs nor a meaningful part of the diet of gray wolves. Now, I've talked quite a bit about carbohydrates myself in other videos, and the important thing to remember is that carbs are not evil. However, they play a unique role when it comes to fat metabolism because of the way they affect the hormone insulin. And this is one of the main, if not the most important part of this lawsuit. A lot of this lawsuit is dedicated to talking about how much carbs are in the dog food, how the amount of carbs is not disclosed on the packaging, how carbs may really help dogs pack on the pounds, and how carbs are basically absent from a wolf's diet. And the latter is important, especially because this particular dog food actually shows a wolf on the packaging. And according to the lawsuit, it's promoted as nature's evolutionary diet. Also, according to the lawsuit, it's marketed and labeled as healthy, nutritious, and optimal on the basis that they are inspired by the diet of wolves and otherwise consistent with dogs' ancestors in the wild. To make claims like that, I do agree that the diet should be fairly similar to a wolf's diet. However, that's certainly far from the case. Just take a look at this ingredient list of one of the dog foods mentioned in this lawsuit, found on Blue Buffalo's website. Where in the wild would a wolf find these ingredients? Almost none of these ingredients would actually be available in the wild. And a lot of them are even highly processed before actually added to the mixture. There is no way a wolf would actually be able to eat something like that in the wild. And of course, like the lawsuit mentions as well, this dog food has gone through a process called extrusion. Now, the lawsuit is highly focused on carbs, and as you may know, the extrusion process actually requires carbs, or more specifically, starch. However, let's not forget that processing, especially to the extent of extrusion processing, can really damage nutrients. And we all know processed food is not good for us. So do we really want to feed ultra-processed food to our dogs? And is it really okay to associate ultra-processed food with something a wolf would eat in the wild? I mean, a wolf wouldn't be able to find most of the ingredients, and there's no way a wolf would be able to, or even want to, put those ingredients through an extrusion process. Now, the lawsuit does mention that one of these dog foods actually contain 25% carbs, which is actually not that much when you compare to a lot of other dry dog foods. However, wolves in the wild certainly don't eat 25% carbs in their diet, and I don't think dogs would either if they were left to their own devices in nature. Remember, dogs don't even require carbs in their diet. And when it comes to weight gain, it's not only about carbs. Even though low-carb diets have been shown in lots of studies to be the best kind of diet for weight loss. By the way, if you enjoy these kind of no BS, give it to you straight kind of videos on dog nutrition, dog health, and lifestyle, then click the subscribe button and turn on notifications to follow my channel. And remember to follow me on Instagram at Viking. Now, when it comes to weight gain, as I talked about in a previous video, at least for us humans, we basically eat until we get enough protein, and different studies have shown this. If the food we're eating contains little protein, we may actually overeat on calories naturally just to get enough protein. While if the food we're eating is actually high in protein, we may simply stop eating naturally once we have the same amount of protein. It's like our bodies know what nutrients it needs, and it will basically just do whatever it needs to do to get those nutrients. So eating and feeding nutrient-dense foods may be the best idea, especially when trying to control excess fat. Plus, the quality of the food has a lot to say as well. It's not just about the macronutrient composition. Seriously, we all know processed food is unhealthy. So how can a dog food company claim that an ultra-processed dog food is healthy for our dogs? Now, what are those two methods to avoid a dog actually becoming overweight? Well, one is to simply restrict the amount of food fed to the dog. Pretty straightforward, right? And if that woman in the lawsuit actually noticed that her dog was becoming overweight, why didn't she simply feed less? I mean, the dog was getting medical attention for canine obesity, so the dog would have probably been pretty overweight by the time she stopped feeding that dog food. Like I said, it's not like dogs become overweight overnight, especially to the point where they actually need medical attention for canine obesity. However, simply feeding less, if the food is not the healthiest, may actually lead to the same diseases as if the dog actually did become overweight. One study basically showed this, where they had two groups of dogs that ate the same food. One group just ate 25% less. The group that ate more became overweight and ended up with certain diseases. The other group were leaner and lived longer, though they ended up with the same diseases. I'd say that's simply not good enough. Now, of course, feeding less may be easier said than done, right? Because the dog may be begging for more food. And what are you supposed to do with your dog looking at you with those puppy dog eyes and looking hungry, right? And it might actually be the case as well that the food is simply not nutrient dense enough, so the dog actually does really want to eat more because it wants to get all those nutrients in, even if that means overeating on calories. Of course, this may or may not have been the case with the dog in this lawsuit. However, the question still remains. Did the woman in the lawsuit actually notice that her dog was becoming overweight? And what did she do about it? Remember, exercise has little to do with weight loss, especially compared to diet, so exercise should not be the focus here. Now, the other method for avoiding dogs becoming overweight or even helping them lose weight is to actually completely change the dog's diet. More specifically, to an all-natural, nutrient-dense, real food diet. Actually, this would be miles closer to a wolf's diet than the dog food in this lawsuit. And this kind of diet will naturally be low in carbs, which works out very well for weight loss. It's also more difficult to gain excess fat on such a diet because it's so satiating. And even more importantly, a healthy, nutritious diet can have such an incredible impact on a dog's health, helping to protect them from actually becoming overweight and also helping them to stay as healthy as possible, which is the ultimate goal, right? Now, there's a lot more I could say about this lawsuit, though I think it comes down to this. Even though I think several of the dog food claims are deceptive, we really need to remember to be highly critical and use common sense when it comes to all dog food. I mean, even if there's a picture of a wolf on the package, there's no way a wolf would be able to eat ultra-processed food in the wild, right? And if you look at the ingredient list, which I think everyone should do if you're buying dog food, there's no way a wolf or even a dog, for instance, in the wild would be able to eat almost any of those ingredients. And I would say, by definition, that this means the dog food is completely unnatural. So what can we really expect from such a food? No matter what the dog food company actually claims. We need to keep our BS detectors on at all times and not just simply believe what a dog food company tells us. As the lawsuit mentioned, Blue Buffalo, for instance, is a leader in the pet food industry, which in the United States grossed more than $29 billion in revenue in 2018. It would be nice to think that these companies actually know what's best for our dogs, though when it comes to industries like these, we have to be super critical and skeptical. Now, if instead of leaving your dog's life in the hands of a dog food company, you'd like to take control of your dog's diet and feed real food, then the best choice may simply be feeding a homemade diet. There are lots of different homemade diets for dogs out there, and some are certainly healthier and better than others. And the key here is to feed nutrient-dense real food. If you'd like to learn how to put together a nutrient-dense real food homemade diet to dogs that dogs absolutely love, then you should check out the Viking dog diet system. Based on science, this system shows you step by step how to put together all natural, nutritious, and delicious meals for dogs in a simple way, including meal examples and how to transition your dog to such a diet. If you'd like to check it out and also see some of the amazing transformation of other dogs that have transitioned their dog to an all-natural diet, then head over to vikingdogdiet.com right now. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if so, then give it a thumbs up and share it to help spread the truth about dogs, nutrition, and health. Let's help as many dogs be as healthy and happy as possible. You in? Give your beautiful dog a hug for me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.